Halloween is fast approaching next week, and lots of new spooky games are coming out of the woodwork, but there's also a new roguelite coming up from Team 17 that looks promising, and even a life sim focused on fishing the Canadian shore. And I want to highlight a game that's been announced without a definitive release date, but I think it should be on everyone's radar. Let's get right into it. If you enjoy finding new indie games, click the like button and consider subscribing to see more of my videos. Both things help the channel grow and help other indie game fans like you find us too, so thanks. I stream twice a week, Thursday and Saturday at noon Eastern Time here on YouTube and on Twitch and Facebook Gaming, so join us. I'll be doing a couple live giveaways this week too. Without further ado, here's this week's indie update. Let's start it off with the game I'm personally looking forward to the most from this list, the Unliving from Rocket Brush Studio and Team 17. Longtime viewers of the channel will know that I've enjoyed almost every game that Team 17 have put out over the last year or so, and this new roguelite looks like another great addition. Unfortunately, it was announced the day I'm writing this that the early access launch has been pushed back to Q1 of 2022, but I still thought you'd like to learn about it and add it to your wish list. In the Unliving, you play as a necromancer raising armies of the undead to do your bidding. The large group-based gameplay reminds me a lot of another game I've been enjoying immensely, Despot's game, and the undead aspects of the Unliving will be an interesting way to naturally implement this cyclical roguelite elements. It's a shame that this has been pushed back since it looks quite spooky, but I'm sure it will be even better when it comes out early next year. I'll leave the Steam link below along with links to all the other games so you can wishlist and purchase as you please. Up next, we have Grotto, another game which looks grimy and a bit disturbing, with a dark, harsh art direction and a setting that looks like you're holed up deep in a cave. This one is more narrative focused, and I'm not sure that there is actually any action involved, but as the local soothsayer, you are the only one capable of interpreting the stars and reading bones, and revealing their messages to your people. How you interact with those looking to you for guidance and what you share with or hide from them will determine the future of your tribe. If you're not sold on narrative experiences, I'll throw in my 2 cents about the developer Brainwash Gang and say that they've put out possibly my favorite narrative adventure earlier this year in The Longest Road on Earth, and I'm looking forward to seeing Grotto play out and all the endings and possibilities it brings. Plus, the art style is super gorgeous, like a dark graphic novel in a 3D world. This one comes to PC via Steam, Nintendo Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and iOS on October 26th.
This is a story of failure, but this is also the story of hope.
And we have another early access game releasing this week called Yolked, and it's coming to PC and Mac via Steam on Thursday, October 28th. This one looks like it should be quite fun in a frustrating and funny sort of way, and if you've enjoyed games like Getting Over It or Jump King, or for you old school Flash gamers, QWOP, where your patience is pushed to its absolute limits, this might be just the game for you. One of the tags on Steam is psychological horror, and I'm not sure if that applies to content within the game or the toll it will likely take on those who play it. Something to think about. Using controls which look about as intuitive as human fall flat, and environmental hazards that are cruel and unforgiving, there's going to be a lot of rinsing and repeating before your egg can safely land wherever he's going. Yolked comes from a small team at the appropriately named Hardboiled Studios, and throughout early access will introduce more levels, game modes, story elements, and even costumes for your cute little egg with hands. This game is planned for consoles as well once the early access phase has been completed, hopefully next year. Okinawa Rush was suggested by Rescue Squad Culp in our Discord server. Speaking of which, if you aren't already part of the many ongoing conversations there, you should join us using the link in the description. You can chat with lots of other indie game fans, myself included, and get alerts for live streams and giveaways too. Back to Okinawa Rush, this is an arcade-inspired beat-em-up which actually launched last Friday, and while beat-em-ups aren't my typical fare, this one is a lot of fun. You can sort of button mash through some of the simpler enemies, or spend some time training in the dojo to master the deadly combos, which will come in handy when you encounter the bosses later on. There is a classic story of loss and revenge wrapped in here too, so if you love some beautiful pixel art graphics and retro-inspired gameplay, check out Okinawa Rush on PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Dreamcast. Oh, and did I mention it has a shared screen co-op option too? If you want to see more gameplay and multiplayer action with this one, my friends at SaveDucks Gaming played this together the other day during a live stream. I'll leave a link to their video in the description below next to the store links. This next game is one you certainly won't find me me playing, but it's more of a personal preference really. I think Sunshine Manor looks absolutely stunning and spooky, but as I mentioned during my live stream this weekend, I just don't enjoy those late night horror movies or games where afterward you deftly flick the lights off as you full speed sprint to your bedroom, fling the door shut behind you, bury yourself under the covers, and pray to God that you don't hear a floorboard creak before you manage to fall asleep. In all seriousness, Sunshine Manor looks quite appealing with its 8-bit art and RPG elements, and it is indeed the sequel to Camp Sunshine, which came out 5 years ago now. You play as Ada, a girl dared by her friends to spend the night in the haunted Sunshine Manor. In the night, she'll find many ghosts, demons, and sexy plus-sized ogres, endure some gruesome boss fights, and hopefully live to tell the tale. This one lands on Halloween, so if you're not out trick-or-treating, grab this one for a horrifying night in. The developers have sent a warning with the review keys that there are genuine jump scares, despite what the charming art and visuals might have you think. Sunshine Manor will be available on PC, Mac, and Linux via Steam, and will be coming to consoles sometime in 2022. I want to wrap up the games coming this week with one that I've really been enjoying for the past several days, Moonglow Bay. Now before I get to this, I'll be talking about one more game after, coming sometime in the future, just to put on your radar if you haven't already seen it announced, so be sure to stick around. But Moonglow Bay is set in a declining fishing town in Canada, where the rumors of a giant sea monster are causing the fishermen to seek calmer waters, or just other professions where you can't be eaten by giant fish. You and your partner dream of fishing together and exploring this new area regardless of the rumors, and if I say any more, I'll be spoiling the story, which I certainly won't. What I can say is that for a chill RPG and collectathon, this game has a lot of little elements that keep you active and engaged. You can fish in different areas around town, changing your rod, lure, bait, casting distance, and once you've hooked the sucker, you still have to work to reel it in. Then if you want to cook some food to sell or to bribe the local tradesman, you have to go through several different steps again, depending on the recipe, and if you mess something up, your food won't be worth as much. I find these mini games to be quite enjoyable and help me not just to zone out like I sometimes do when fishing or completing menial tasks in other casual sims like Cozy Grove. The rich voxel art, which you can see, is wonderful, and Moonglow Bay also has a killer soundtrack from Lena Raine that is so calm and beautiful. It adjusts to several different factors in the game, so it always seems to fit perfectly with whatever situation you find yourself in, whether day or night, on land, or the high seas. The game comes from a small team at Bunny Hug, which, fun fact, to Saskatchewanians, means a hoodie. The more you know. You can begin your fishing adventure in Moonglow Bay on October 26th when it's released to PC and Xbox consoles. Now, I'm sure some of you have undoubtedly seen this announcement. We were talking briefly about it in our Discord the other day, but Concerned Ape of Stardew Valley fame has announced his newest venture, Haunted Chocaltier, coming sometime in the future. If that title doesn't give you flashbacks to the Willy Wonka Tunnel of Terror, you're one lucky son of a gun. While the graphics and some of the gameplay elements do look very similar to Stardew, the developer has said pretty plainly that this is not a continuation or sequel and will be quite different, with the story focusing around more extraordinary and magical elements, like chocolate. There's just no explaining where that stuff comes from or how it's made. You'll be able to explore a haunted mansion, build a chocolate emporium, hire adorable ghosts to man the cash register, and much more. Haunted Chocaltier will carry over some of our favorite gameplay elements from Stardew Valley, like the town aspect, where you'll meet new people and build relationships, but the developer hasn't yet stated whether this town and game will be at all related to Stardew Valley. In all likelihood, my feeling is that it will be unrelated, since he compares the life of Stardew Valley as derived from the sun, with the game's emphasis on farming and sustaining life, where Haunted Chocaltier is more akin to the magic and allure of the moon. But again, that's just my speculation. There's no Steam page available yet for this one, but I'll leave a link to the developer's Twitter so you can follow along for more updates if you want. Check out this video on the left for another one of my favorite games this year, or watch the playlist on the right for 10 great indie games from every month. See you on the other side.